In an era where plastic is the primary choice for storing food, many people find it challenging to keep vegetables fresh for even 7 days. Conversely, the Amish manage to preserve food for up to 30 years, and they achieve this without using any plastic containers whatsoever. Upon learning that the Amish store food without relying on plastic, the initial inquiry often concerns the source of their abundant food supply. It's true, you won't typically see Amish families navigating the aisles of a supermarket like Walmart with shopping carts. The explanation is found in their extraordinary self-sustaining agricultural system, which might cause contemporary farmers to react with surprise and perhaps reconsider their own practices. A standard Amish farm operates as a highly productive unit, generating between 12,000 and 15,000 pounds of food each year. To provide some context, this quantity is roughly equivalent to the weight of 4 medium-sized cars in produce, fruit, and cereals, all produced without consuming any gasoline or utilizing modern tractors. My neighbor once quipped that his ride-on lawnmower possessed greater horsepower than a whole Amish farm, yet he struggled immensely to cultivate even a single tomato. The key is their horse-powered machinery, which, although appearing rudimentary, is remarkably sophisticated. This equipment has undergone generations of refinement, resulting in surprising efficiency. A quartet of horses can till and bring in the harvest for more than 40 acres, collaborating seamlessly with their human counterparts. Observing these farms in action has an almost lyrical quality, unless, naturally, you happen to be guiding the plow at the crack of dawn. However, this is where things become fascinating. Amish agriculture extends beyond the single family. It represents a collective endeavor that surpasses most contemporary corporate team-building activities in effectiveness. During major harvest periods, several families unite for events they refer to as work frolics. Imagine this. Rather than a lone farmer operating a combine harvester, there are 20 to 30 individuals collaborating, exchanging anecdotes, and likely engaging in friendly banter about who can gather corn most quickly. Furthermore, the Amish possess expertise in seed saving, akin to possessing an edible family legacy. Certain Amish communities preserve seed types handed down through more than a century. These seeds are not the standard commercial varieties. They are uniquely suited to the regional environment and yield exceptionally resilient plants. An Amish farmer recounted to me how his tomato seeds endured a deluge that might have unsettled Noah himself. Their system of crop rotation represents another crucial element of their achievement. Rather than depending on synthetic fertilizers, they alternate crops in a manner that inherently improves the soil. It resembles a game of musical chairs played with vegetables, only in this version, all participants benefit. A field might cultivate corn one year, followed by beans, then wheat, and continuing in sequence. This approach has maintained the fertility of their land for generations, contrasting with numerous modern farms facing challenges with exhausted soil. The truly ingenious aspect? Every element is linked. The horses drawing the plows consume a portion of the grain they assist in harvesting. Their droppings serve as fertilizer for the subsequent year's crops. Leftover vegetable matter nourishes the chickens, which in turn supply eggs and additional fertilizer. It resembles a flawlessly coordinated performance where zero waste occurs. Yet, the crucial query remains. Given this substantial food production capacity, why not simply yield and adopt contemporary plastic storage techniques? Wouldn't that simplify things? This inquiry directs us toward comprehending the rationale behind this apparently complex Amish decision. Their motives extend well beyond mere tradition. They stem from a deep comprehension of food preservation principles and environmental consequences. One might assume that shunning plastic merely complicates life, yet the justifications for this avoidance could prompt a reconsideration of those food containers residing in your kitchen. The Amish choice to steer clear of plastic isn't solely a matter of clinging to outdated ways. It rests on sound scientific principles and practical wisdom. During the 1950s, upon the initial introduction of plastic storage containers into American homes, the majority of Amish communities assessed them and politely declined. As it happens, their intuition may have been accurate. Consider the changes plastic undergoes over extended periods. Have you observed how your plastic containers acquire peculiar stains from holding spaghetti sauce, or develop strange odors after some time? This occurs because plastic is not merely inert. It engages in a gradual chemical interaction with the food it contains. Current research indicates that even plastics labeled BPA-free can release chemicals into food, particularly when subjected to heat or acidic contents. An Amish elder articulated it concisely. If the container's color is altering, what effect is it having on the food? The matter of air circulation is also significant. Plastic forms an airtight seal that locks in moisture, beneficial for short-term freshness, about a week, but detrimental for preservation over months or years. Conventional Amish storage techniques employing wood, glass, and ceramics permit food to respire appropriately. The comparison is akin to wearing a plastic raincoat versus a woolen coat. The former traps dampness, causing perspiration, while the latter allows breathability and provides warmth. Here is a potentially surprising piece of information. The majority of plastic food containers are engineered for a lifespan of approximately 1 to 2 years under normal usage. In contrast, the glass jars and ceramic crocks inherited within Amish families have remained in constant service for over 50 years. My preferred anecdote involves an Amish grandmother who continues to utilize her great-grandmother's fermenting crock dating back to 1902. She humorously remarks that it predates sliced bread, a statement that is factually correct, as sliced bread only appeared in 1928. The ecological dimension cannot be overlooked, and typical American household discards roughly 320 pounds of plastic annually. Conversely, the yearly waste generated by an Amish family frequently fits into just one trash receptacle. They aren't necessarily environmental campaigners. They simply never perceive the logic in purchasing items destined for disposal. As an Amish farmer humorously noted, "We required no scientist to inform us of plastic's permanence. That is precisely the reason we avoid it." The sole item we will endorse on our channel is a publication by Claude Davis, an experienced prepper, detailing 26 superfoods and preservation techniques from challenging periods such as the Great Depression and wartime, information unobtainable elsewhere. Our decision to promote this book stems from the fact that we represent the final generation capable of transmitting these methods and knowledge of superfoods to our offspring or grandchildren. Allowing this knowledge concerning highly nourishing foods and crisis survival preservation strategies to vanish would be regrettable. Additionally, a book concerning herbal remedies by Nicole Allen is available in their store. If you are viewing this program on television, you can search for our channel, Frugal Solutions, using your phone or tablet and locate the books by selecting the link provided in our channel description or within any other video description. The religious and cultural dimensions of shunning plastic extend past purely practical considerations. The Amish ethos emphasizing simplicity and self-sufficiency is highly influential. Employing traditional storage techniques signifies independence from factories and retail outlets. One can craft their own ceramic crocks, care for their glass jars, and construct wooden storage containers. This embodies maintaining control over one's food from its origin in the field to the dining table. However, the significance isn't limited to autonomy. The Amish have noted how plastic has altered perspectives on food storage. The ease of wrapping items in plastic and setting them aside diminishes one's connection to the food. Traditional practices demand attentiveness, diligence, and understanding. It necessitates comprehending the behavior of various foods, their specific requirements, and the ability to recognize indications of deterioration. This represents a form of insight that plastic packaging has caused many to lose. The financial aspect is also logical. Although a collection of plastic containers may have a lower initial purchase price, they necessitate frequent replacement. Traditional storage solutions involve a greater upfront investment, but can endure for generations. An Amish community estimated that a family conserves approximately $300 to $400 annually by foregoing the purchase of plastic storage containers. As their saying goes, we cannot afford to purchase inexpensive items. Taste is another consideration. Food kept in traditional vessels frequently acquires richer, more intricate flavors as time passes. Think of fermented vegetables within ceramic crocks, matured cheese within cheese cellars, or dried herbs within wooden boxes. These techniques do more than just conserve food, they alter it. Plastic, conversely, aims to maintain the food's original state, which is not invariably superior. The Amish expertise in plastic-free storage gains growing significance as increasing numbers of individuals seek sustainable substitutes for plastic. Yet, it's important to note, simply replacing plastic with traditional containers isn't sufficient. One must grasp the entire accompanying system of food preservation. This leads us to one of the most ancient and potent food preservation techniques familiar to mankind. Well before refrigerators became standard kitchen appliances or plastic wrap was conceived, individuals conserved food via fermentation. The Amish have perpetuated this age-old practice, employing methods that would earn the approbation of any contemporary microbiologist. The sizable ceramic pots found in Amish cellars serve as more than mere vessels. They teem with advantageous bacteria performing the task of preservation. One traditional Amish fermentation vessel is capable of containing 30 to 40 pounds of vegetables, roughly equivalent to the weight of a 4-year-old. However, unlike a child potentially creating disorder in your home, these vegetables silently undergo a transformation into enduring, wholesome food. The truly astonishing aspect, these very containers frequently remain in uninterrupted service for decades. An Amish family possesses a jar featuring a crack mended in 1943. They contend the minor flaw imparts character to their sauerkraut, although in my view that might simply be putting a positive spin on a damaged container. The scientific principles underlying fermentation are captivating. Upon immersing vegetables in a saline solution, beneficial bacteria, the non-pathogenic type, begin proliferating. These advantageous microorganisms generate lactic acid, functioning as a natural preservative. It is analogous to having legions of miniature guardians shielding your food against decay. This process genuinely enhances the food's nutritional content. Fermented cabbage may contain as much as 20 times the vitamin C found in its fresh counterpart, a notable advantage over orange juice. Temperature is a critical factor in fermentation. Through generational experience, the Amish have discovered that varying temperatures yield distinct flavors. Excessive warmth causes vegetables to soften rapidly, quicker than a teenager's commitment to tidying their room might fade. Conversely, excessive cold drastically slows fermentation. The ideal range lies between 65 and 75 degrees Celsius, explaining why fermentation vessels are commonly located in Amish cellars or spring houses, where temperatures remain stable. The proportion of salt used in fermentation constitutes another area of expertise the Amish have perfected. Insufficient salt allows detrimental bacteria to potentially infiltrate. Excessive salt inhibits even the beneficial bacteria, akin to attempting to swim in the Dead Sea. The optimal ratio generally falls around 2 to 3 tablespoons of salt for each quart of water, although each Amish family appears to possess its unique, confidential recipe. An older Amish woman asserts she can determine the correct brine concentration merely by floating an egg in it, though her grandson insists she is merely displaying her skill. What items are suitable for fermentation? The range is unexpectedly extensive. Cabbage develops into sauerkraut, cucumbers become pickles, and unripe tomatoes can be fermented into a tasty product. The Amish frequently ferment green beans, beets, carrots, and turnips. They are even known to ferment watermelon rinds. This truly exemplifies the principle of minimizing waste. Every vegetable cultivates its distinctive flavor characteristics throughout fermentation. It is as if each container orchestrates its own unique symphony of tastes. The heritage recipes transmitted across generations concern not only flavor, but also timing. Various vegetables ferment at differing speeds, Cucumbers may reach readiness within a week, whereas correctly matured sauerkraut might require 6 weeks or longer. An Amish adage states, "Patience yields the pickle," although I imagine this phrase originated from someone who attempted to expedite the process and was left with overly soft cucumbers. Possibly the most notable feature of Amish fermentation is their ability to sustain the process annually without contemporary instruments. Lacking pH meters and temperature regulators, they rely solely on adept hands and meticulous observation. They gauge the progress of fermentation by the ascent of bubbles, the transparency of the brine, and the emerging scent. This represents a type of proficiency not acquired through reading, but through direct experience. Regarding experience, the Amish have discerned over generations that the storage location for fermented foods is as critical as their preparation method. However, this principle applies beyond fermented items. It appears certain foods coexist harmoniously, whereas others are fundamentally incompatible. The Amish have long recognized that combining suitable foods for storage or separating specific ones can determine whether one has fresh produce in February or merely a cellar filled with decomposed matter. Let us begin with the compatible pairs in the realm of produce, apples and pears. These fruits cooperate effectively because they both thrive under identical conditions, cool and somewhat moist environments. Additionally, they generate comparable levels of ethylene gas, a naturally occurring ripening agent. It is as though they communicate in the same manner. Stored in proximity, they will coexist well for several months. Then we encounter the problematic combinations, onions and potatoes. This pairing is inevitably ill-fated. Admittedly, they might appear compatible, both being root vegetables favoring dark storage, but placing them together leads to rapid deterioration. Onions induce premature sprouting in potatoes, whereas potatoes can cause onions to become soft and develop mold. An Amish farmer likened it to placing two infatuated teenagers in the same room. An undesirable outcome is certain. The scientific explanation for this phenomenon is quite interesting. Certain fruits, such as apples, bananas, and peaches, are termed gassy fruits by the Amish. They emit substantial quantities of ethylene gas, accelerating the ripening process in nearby foods. This effect can be either advantageous or detrimental, contingent upon the desired outcome. Need to expedite the ripening of those green tomatoes? Place them adjacent to an apple. Wish to maintain your potatoes in a dormant state? Ensure they are kept separate from those ethylene-producing fruits. Temperature variations are also critically important. The Amish established distinct storage zones characterized by differing temperatures and moisture levels. Robust vegetables, such as carrots and beets, tolerate cooler conditions and greater humidity, whereas garlic and onions favor slightly warmer, drier environments. Confusing these storage requirements will result in a rapid produce spoilage faster than one can utter rotten vegetables. The skill of companion storage extends beyond fruits and vegetables alone. Herbs also fulfill a vital function. Basil, for instance, possesses natural antimicrobial qualities that can aid in preserving the freshness of certain fruits for extended periods. Some Amish families strategically position bay leaves amidst their stored produce as a natural pest repellent, a technique validated by contemporary scientific findings. Here is an amusing piece of Amish insight. Apples resemble talkative neighbors. They divulge everyone else's confidential matters. This analogy illustrates how apples can influence almost all surrounding fruits and vegetables. They can impart bitterness to carrots, induce sprouting in potatoes, and cause leafy greens to wilt. However, when stored alongside other apples or pears, they remain well-behaved. The Amish have additionally discovered that certain vegetables act as excellent intermediaries. Cabbage, for example, is compatible with nearly all other produce. It can be stored adjacent to most vegetables without issue. It's comparable to that one acquaintance who consistently avoids conflict. Turnips and parsnips exhibit similar neutrality. They represent the neutral parties within the root cellar environment. However, true mastery lies in leveraging these interactions beneficially. Require ripening a quantity of green tomatoes preceding the initial frost? Placing a few apples within a sealed container can accelerate the ripening. Aiming to prevent potatoes from sprouting? Store them alongside beets rather than onions. Possess some overly firm pears? Position them near ripe bananas. It resembles operating a matchmaking service for produce. The essential element is vigilance. The Amish inspect their stored produce routinely, searching for indications of problems. A solitary decaying apple genuinely can compromise the entire container. This adage originates from centuries of practical knowledge. They will advise that daily inspection and removal of one deteriorating apple is preferable to forfeiting a whole winter's food supply. These companion storage techniques are remarkable, yet they constitute only a fraction of the overall picture. For them to be effective, the appropriate setting is necessary. This is where an innovative Amish creation enters the scene, one utilizing solely the natural coolness of the ground below us. Nature provided the finest refrigeration, long preceding the advent of electricity, a fact the Amish have consistently remembered. Essentially, a root cellar is a self-constructed subterranean chamber, and it surpasses any sophisticated kitchen device in preserving food freshness. Inquire with any Amish family who has savored firm apples in March without incurring any electricity costs. This is the enchantment. The ground inherently sustains a consistent temperature between 32 and 40 degrees throughout the year, at a depth of approximately 10 feet. This range constitutes ideal refrigeration temperature. An Amish root cellar capitalizes on this principle by being constructed partly or entirely below ground level. An Amish farmer humorously suggests his root cellar maintains such a constant temperature that he could preserve ice cream within it, were its consumption permitted. The holding potential of these subterranean spaces is staggering. A standard Amish root cellar can accommodate 600 to 1,000 pounds of produce, sufficient sustenance for a family of 8 during the winter and spring months. An older Amish man once informed me, "Our root cellar contained sufficient potatoes to sustain Ireland." When I noted this might be hyperbole, he gave a knowing wink and replied, "Perhaps, at minimum, enough for an exceptionally famished Irish village." Yet it is more than merely a large excavation. Significant engineering principles are applied. Various foods require specific conditions. Thus, Amish root cellars incorporate separate zones. The lowest level remains the coolest and most damp, optimal for root vegetables. Higher shelves are marginally warmer and less humid, suitable for squash and pumpkins. Certain families even fit wooden slatted shelves to facilitate air movement around the stored items. The method for regulating humidity is ingeniously uncomplicated. Typically, the floor consists of compacted earth, occasionally topped with gravel. This natural base releases moisture during dry conditions and absorbs excess humidity when levels are high. It operates without sensors or electronic components, simply earth performing its inherent function. Although an Amish youth once proposed installing a hygrometer, his father retorted, "If your sense of smell cannot detect the humidity, you have been spending an excessive amount of time inside." Air circulation is also vital. The majority of root cellars feature 2 vents, one for intake, positioned near the floor, and another for exhaust, located near the ceiling. This arrangement generates a natural current of air that inhibits mold growth and stabilizes the temperature. The Amish refer to this as the breathing system, emphasizing that the cellar requires ventilation akin to living beings. Some astute constructors even incorporate adjustable vents, allowing for precise regulation of airflow based on external temperature conditions. The building methods have remained largely unaltered for centuries due to their proven effectiveness. Walls made of stone or concrete, a robust door ensuring a tight seal, and adequate drainage constitute the essential requirements. Numerous Amish families continue to utilize root cellars erected by their great-grandparents, requiring only periodic upkeep and perhaps a replacement door every several decades. As stated by an Amish builder, we construct them to endure longer than the provisions they contain. Assessing the temperature within a root cellar is performed traditionally, using one's senses. The Amish cultivate an intuitive understanding of the correct temperature. They will inform you that visible breath indicates excessive cold, while the absence of a gentle coolness suggests excessive warmth. This approach might seem inexact, yet it has proven effective for generations. Furthermore, as an Amish grandmother noted, thermometers are liable to fail, but one sense of smell remains reliable. Arrangement is paramount within a root cellar. Foods are organized not merely by category, but also according to their shelf life. Items prone to rapid spoilage are placed near the entrance, whereas durable vegetables such as carrots and potatoes are positioned further back. This mirrors a natural application of the first-in, first-out principle employed in contemporary warehousing. Although root cellars excel at storing fresh items, they represent only one component of the overall preservation strategy. Occasionally, food must be kept for more extended durations, or one desires to preserve summer fruits for consumption during winter. For these purposes, the Amish employ another proven technique that converts glass jars into miniature repositories of time. Glass jars may appear uncomplicated, yet wielded by the Amish, they function as temporal vessels for food. The lines of shining mason jars arranged on shelves are not merely aesthetically pleasing, they contain the essence of summer, poised to enhance winter repasts. Furthermore, in contrast to plastic containers with a lifespan of perhaps 1 or 2 years, these durable glass vessels can provide service for many decades. The statistics reveal a remarkable narrative. A properly manufactured mason jar can endure for over 20 years, given appropriate maintenance. One Amish family continues to use jars originating from the 1950s, still fitted with their initial glass lids. The grandmother asserts she can distinguish the jars by the age of the glass, although most suspect she is jesting. A typical Amish home utilizes approximately 400 to 600 jars throughout the canning period. While this figure may seem substantial, its rationale becomes clear upon itemization. 50 jars for tomatoes, 40 for green beans, 30 for peaches, 25 for applesauce. The total accumulates rapidly. An Amish woman humorously stated that she measures her prosperity in mason jars rather than currency. The two-component lid mechanism represents an engineering feat that has remained unimproved for more than a century. The flat metallic lid incorporates a rubber gasket, which upon heating forms a hermetic seal with the jar. The external band secures the components during the processing phase, but is detachable after the seal is established. It functions much like a miniature submarine hatch for preserving food. Various foods necessitate distinct techniques. Foods high in acidity, such as tomatoes and fruits, can be processed using a water bath canner, essentially a large vessel of boiling water. However, low-acid foods like green beans and carrots demand pressure canning, a method achieving significantly higher temperatures. As an Amish father observes, pressure canners resemble adolescents, potent, yet requiring vigilant supervision. The Amish possess an intuitive grasp of correct headspace, the void between the contents and the lid. Excessive space may compromise the seal's integrity. Insufficient space could lead to expansion and jar breakage. They advise allowing adequate room for minor movement, dancing, but not so much as to permit excessive activity, throwing a party. Temperature holds critical importance in the canning process. The food requires sufficient heat to eliminate detrimental bacteria, yet excessively rapid heating of the jars can cause them to fracture. During the peak season, Amish kitchens resemble meticulously choreographed performances, with jars transitioning from preparation stations to canners and then to cooling racks, according to exact timing. A single misstep can result in what they term a glass salad scattered across the floor. Each Amish family adheres to unique recipes and methods inherited through generations. Some advocate for incorporating a small amount of salt into fruit preserves to boost flavor, while others employ proprietary timing techniques for achieving ideal pickles. These familial customs are safeguarded with the same diligence applied to the preservation jars. Post-canning storage is equally vital as the procedure itself. Jars ought to be maintained in a cool, shaded location. Exposure to light can diminish color and alter the food's taste. The Amish frequently construct specialized shelving systems angled slightly forward, facilitating easy visual identification of contents without direct handling. They refer to this arrangement as their food library. Here is an intriguing detail. Glass can actually gain strength through appropriate usage. The cycles of heating and cooling involved in canning can fortify the glass's structure, explaining why older jars are frequently more robust than newly manufactured ones. However, as an Amish grandmother cautions, avoid overconfidence. Even the sturdiest jar will shatter if dropped onto a stone surface. The Amish derive satisfaction from their canning achievements. Transparent liquids, vibrant hues, and secure seals signify accomplishment. They can ascertain a jar's preservation potential by mere visual inspection, yet they meticulously label everything with dates. As the adage suggests, it is preferable to be certain of an item's age than to rely on fallible memory. Yet consider foods unsuitable for jarring, or instances where preservation without heat application is desired. In such cases, the Amish resorted to one of the most ancient preservation techniques available to humanity. This method requires no specialized apparatus, consumes no energy, and can even enhance the flavor of certain foods beyond their original state. The sun has offered free food drying since time immemorial, and the Amish have elevated this natural phenomenon to an art. Their conventional drying techniques are so effective that contemporary food scientists continue exploring the underlying reasons for their success. While electric dehydrators operate noisily in contemporary kitchens, Amish households silently generate impeccably dried foods utilizing only air, sunlight, and knowledge passed down through generations. What items are dried? Practically anything cultivable. Apples become leathery rings with a candy-like flavor. Green beans transform into leather brights, suitable for flavoring soups throughout the winter. Corn turns into crunchy snacks eagerly sought by children. Even watermelon can be dehydrated into sweet morsels that one Amish grandfather insists surpass commercial candies, though his grandchildren may hold a different opinion. The scientific basis of drying. The underlying principle is remarkably straightforward. Eliminating water from food inhibits bacterial growth. However, the method employed is crucial. The Amish utilize distinctive drying racks resembling enormous ladder-like structures. These racks can accommodate up to 50 pounds of food simultaneously, ensuring ample air circulation for each tier. If air cannot circulate freely around your food, an Amish farmer states, proper drying will not occur. Timing is paramount in food dehydration. Various foods require distinct durations, ranging from 6 hours for herbs to 36 hours for substantial fruit pieces. The Amish employ ingenious methods to assess dryness. Correctly dried apple segments should fissure but not fracture upon bending. Dehydrated corn ought to fragment like glass when struck with a utensil. Jerky should flex like leather yet snap cleanly when creased. Temperature regulation occurs naturally via strategic positioning of the drying racks. Morning sunlight offers mild heat, whereas afternoon shade guards against excessive drying. Some families utilize their porches, where roof overhangs establish optimal drying environments. One resourceful Amish family constructed a dedicated drying structure, equipped with a preparation is essential. Fruits are immersed in lemon juice to inhibit discoloration. Vegetables may undergo brief blanching to preserve color and nutritional value. Meat intended for jerky is cut with surgical exactitude. Excessive thickness hinders proper drying. Excessive thinness results in brittleness. Slicing jerky resembles cutting hair, an Amish butcher quips, except errors cannot be rectified with adhesive. The cadence of the drying season. The drying period imposes its unique tempo upon Amish homes. Early morning hours are dedicated to harvesting and preparing food. Afternoon activities center on overseeing the drying operation. Evenings are allocated to storing the dried items produced that day. It is a collective family undertaking involving even young children assisting with arranging fruit on racks or rotating herbs laid out on screens. Nutritional content and storage. A remarkable point. Correctly dried foods can preserve up to 90% of their initial nutritional worth. The dehydration process actually intensifies certain nutrients, rendering dried foods exceptionally nutrient-dense. Additionally, dried foods weigh approximately 1/6 of their fresh weight, significantly simplifying storage. The yield of an entire garden of tomatoes might occupy only a few shelves once dried. The Amish employ specific techniques for assessing humidity without instruments. If dried beans fracture rather than flex, the atmosphere is overly dry. If apple segments require longer than 2 days to dry, humidity is excessive. These empirical observations, refined over generations, are as dependable as any electronic sensor. The storage of dehydrated goods demands diligence equal to that of the drying procedure itself. Glass jars equipped with securely fitting lids are ideal, provided they achieve a perfect hermetic seal. A minuscule amount of moisture can spoil months of effort. The Amish frequently include a dried bay leaf in each container to serve as a natural preservative and insect repellent. Certain families even inspect their dried food jars by holding them towards sunlight. Any sign of condensation necessitates returning the contents to the drying rack. Spring houses, natural refrigeration. Although the sun offers cost-free drying capability for much of the year, nature occasionally requires assistance. This introduces another ingenious example of Amish engineering, a cooling mechanism powered prior to the electrical age delivering refrigerators. The Amish constructed above natural springs or watercourses. These stone structures function as nature's coolers, maintaining food coolness during peak summer heat without consuming any electricity. The ingenuity resides in the moving water. Chilly spring water sustains a consistent temperature near 52 degrees throughout the year, ideal for preserving the freshness of milk, butter, and various perishable items. An Amish farmer asserts his spring house maintains butter solidity in August to such a degree that one could construct a dwelling with it, although this claim remains unverified. Stone walls form the basis of a spring house's cooling capacity. The substantial masonry draws coolness from the water and gradually releases it into the atmosphere, generating a natural cooling effect. The majority of spring houses feature walls measuring at least 2 feet in thickness. When constructing a spring house, an Amish builder once advised me, if you believe the walls are sufficiently thick, add an extra foot for certainty. The internal layout is a marvel of straightforward engineering. Tiers of stone shelves ascend above the moving water, establishing distinct temperature areas. The bottommost level, nearest the water, remains the coolest, approximately 50 degrees. Each subsequent level is marginally warmer, enabling families to store various foods at optimal temperatures. Cream and butter occupy the lower shelves, fruits and vegetables are placed higher. A standard spring house possesses the capacity to cool 30 to 40 gallons of milk per day, in addition to butter, cheese, and fresh produce. The water coursing below the shelves provides cooling and simultaneously ensures ideal humidity levels. In contrast to modern refrigerators, which tend to dehydrate food, a spring house preserves the crispness and freshness of produce without necessitating plastic coverings. Upkeep is vital, yet uncomplicated. Regular weekly cleaning ensures the water conduit remains unobstructed and inhibits algae proliferation. Certain families introduce small fish into their spring house water flows. These fish consume mosquito larvae, aiding in water purification. An Amish woman humorously remarks that her spring house fish represent the sole pets requiring no feeding from her. The positioning of a spring house is paramount. It must be situated conveniently near the primary residence, yet sufficiently distant to access pure spring water prior to its emergence. Most are constructed into slopes, utilizing gravity to maintain water flow. Optimal locations are frequently identified by observing areas where snow melts earliest in springtime. These typically correspond to points where subterranean springs are nearest the ground level. An intriguing aspect: spring houses frequently serve dual functions as water purification systems. As water traverses channels embedded in the floor, it undergoes natural filtration through strata of sand and gravel. This process yields potable water alongside the cooling benefit. Certain spring houses have supplied clean water to Amish farms for more than 100 years. Temperature assessment within a spring house is conducted traditionally through tactile sensation. The Amish cultivate an intuitive sense for appropriate temperatures in various sections. They will indicate that properly stored milk should feel sufficiently cold to induce dental discomfort. An older Amish gentleman asserts he can gauge his spring house temperatures with greater precision than a thermometer, although his grandchildren harbor doubts. Honey, nature's extraordinary preservative. Yet, what of foods requiring preservation beyond the capabilities of even a spring house? For this, the Amish utilized one of nature's most exceptional preservatives, a sweet golden fluid that has maintained food freshness since antiquity. Raw honey arguably approaches the status of a miracle food. Upon opening Egyptian tombs exceeding 3,000 years in age, archaeologists discovered containers of honey still entirely edible. While the Amish haven't preserved honey for such durations, they have perfected the use of this golden substance in manners that would impress those ancient Egyptians. Honey's remarkable qualities stem from its distinct characteristics. Possessing a moisture level between only 17% and 20%, honey establishes conditions hostile to bacterial survival. It is comparable to attempting life in an arid desert, an impossibility. Furthermore, honey includes natural hydrogen peroxide and maintains a pH level prohibitive to the growth of most detrimental organisms. An Amish apiarist humorously compares honey to nature's Fort Knox, impenetrable to undesirable elements. What can be preserved using honey? The variety is unexpectedly broad. Fruits represent the most frequent application. Peaches, apples, and berries stored in honey not only maintain freshness, but also cultivate intricate flavors over time. The Amish frequently arrange different fruits in layers within the same jar, forming what they term honey rainbows. Each stratum absorbs nuanced flavors from adjacent layers. Nuts receive distinctive handling in honey preservation. Walnuts, pecans, and almonds are immersed uncooked in honey, undergoing a gradual curing process that imparts a unique sweet and savory character. Some Amish households possess jars of honey-preserved nuts dating back decades, although their palatability often prevents such long-term storage. Certain meats can even be conserved in honey, although this demands specialized knowledge transmitted across generations. The meat requires thorough drying initially, followed by complete immersion and sealing in honey. An Amish elder recounts his grandfather preserving venison in honey during an exceptionally mild hunting season. The meat remained edible for 2 years. Temperature management and storage. Temperature management is vital for storing honey. The Amish maintain their honey supplies in cool, shaded locations, typically within glass jars sealed with airtight lids. Although honey essentially does not spoil, it is susceptible to fermentation if its moisture level becomes excessive. However, as one Amish grandmother observes, occasional errors can lead to fortunate discoveries, such as how their family stumbled upon honey-preserved meat. Honey's antibacterial characteristics actually intensify with age. The longer honey is stored, the more powerful its preservative capabilities become. Scientific research confirms that aged honey frequently exhibits superior antimicrobial strength compared to fresh honey. This fact has been recognized by the Amish for generations. They often reserve older honey specifically for preservation purposes. A single pound of honey, when applied correctly, can preserve 2 to 3 pounds of other food items. The critical factor is ensuring complete immersion. Any portion of the food protruding above the honey surface is vulnerable to spoilage. The Amish employ specialized weights crafted from food-safe glass to maintain full submersion. Some families label their honey jars with dates, effectively creating sweet temporal records of preserved items. Additionally, the Amish utilize honey's preservative qualities in unconventional applications. Applying a fine layer of honey to cheese aids in mold prevention. Incorporating a spoonful into canned fruits assists in retaining their color for longer durations. Certain families even apply a thin coating of honey to the lids of their fermentation vessels to enhance the seal. harmonizing with natural cycles. However, food preservation encompasses more than just techniques. It involves comprehending and collaborating with the cadences of nature. Impressive though honey storage may be, it represents merely one Indeed, the Amish methodology, the Amish schedule aligns less with calendar months and more with the availability of food. Every season dictates specific duties, unique tempos, and a distinct form of activity. As articulated by an Amish farmer, nature dictates our daily tasks. Our role is simply to possess the wisdom to heed its guidance. Seasonal food conservation. Spring initiates the annual cycle. Immediately following the ground's thawing, root cellars undergo their yearly thorough cleansing. Each shelf is meticulously scrubbed and every nook examined. Storage containers from the previous year are inspected and mended. It resembles an intensified version of spring cleaning, only instead of discovering misplaced socks, one might find an errant potato that has proliferated into a cluster of new tubers. Summer arrives with an intensity akin to a speeding train of tasks. Those leisurely summer days often mentioned, they are scarce in Amish communities. From dawn until dusk, families engage in harvesting, preparing, and conserving food. Berries demand immediate picking upon reaching ripeness. Adherence to schedules is impossible. Tomatoes brook no delay. An Amish mother described her summer routine as dictated by whatever reaches maturity today, potentially involving processing 60 pounds of green beans one day and 40 pounds of blackberries the following day. Throughout peak summer preservation periods, Amish kitchens operate for 12 to 14 hours daily. The labor is arduous, demanding, and utterly essential. Neglecting a single day of canning could result in lacking that specific food for a month during winter. Young children contribute by preparing beans or sorting berries. Adolescents might voice dissatisfaction with the workload, but as an Amish father humorously notes, their complaints diminish in winter when consuming the fruits of their labor. Autumn presents its own demanding timetable. Root vegetables such as carrots and potatoes require harvesting prior to the initial severe frost. A typical Amish family might unearth 500 to 600 pounds of potatoes within one day. Precision in timing is crucial. Harvesting prematurely compromises storage longevity. Delaying means contending with frozen soil. Autumn reveals whether one's physical endurance matches their resolve, chuckles an Amish farmer. Winter appears more tranquil, yet involves specific preservation activities. This period is primarily dedicated to meat processing. Smokehouses operate continuously, transforming fresh pork and beef into hams and bacon designed for months of storage. The cold climate is ideally suited for this purpose. As stated by an Amish butcher, winter functions as nature's cooler. A single family might process sufficient meat during winter to sustain them until the subsequent cold period. Community and knowledge transmission. Yet, the brilliance of the Amish framework lies not solely in its timing, but also in the communal collaboration. Families synchronize their planting and harvesting activities. Universal preservation of all items is unnecessary due to an established trading network. One family might concentrate on tomatoes, while another excels with root vegetables. Come winter, everyone possesses the necessary provisions. Through an intricate system of sharing and exchange, the transfer of knowledge across generations is preserved just as carefully as the food itself. Children acquire skills through practical involvement, laboring alongside parents and grandparents. Upon reaching adolescence, most Amish young people possess precise knowledge regarding optimal harvest times, preservation methods, and storage locations for each crop. Our efforts extend beyond preserving food, clarifies an Amish grandmother. We are preserving insight. Meteorological conditions influence every determination. An unseasonal frost can postpone planting, consequently altering the entire annual plan. A period of drought during summer necessitates more frequent harvesting of reduced quantities. The Amish have developed the ability to interpret natural indicators, the emergence of particular weeds, the return of specific avian species, distinct atmospheric scents. This constitutes a form of natural almanac, proving more dependable than any written calendar. Considering alternatives, purchasing food and using plastic, given the meticulous planning and strenuous effort involved, one might contemplate a less complicated approach. Simply purchasing food from stores and storing it in plastic containers. This consideration leads directly to the core issue, the fundamental distinctions between self-preserved and commercially obtained food storage. Finances provide compelling evidence. The typical Amish family realizes annual savings between $3,000 and $4,000 through preserving their own sustenance. While this amount may initially seem modest, it represents savings comparable to the earnings of a part-time position achieved while producing food superior to commercially available options. Plastic versus non-plastic comparison. Commercially purchased food and plastic containers offer undeniable ease. Acquire, store, and disregard until needed. However, this convenience entails concealed drawbacks. The average American household discards approximately 30% of its purchased food, primarily because plastic storage fosters an inaccurate perception of food longevity. As an Amish farmer humorously remarked, plastic containers resemble inept politicians, making commitments they cannot fulfill. Initial investment for traditional storage solutions may appear costly. Acquiring a quality set of mason jars, suitable fermenting vessels, and root cellar necessities could require an upfront expenditure of $500 to $600. Yet, these items endure for decades. An Amish family determined their storage containers average roughly 2 cents per utilization throughout their lifespan. Achieving comparable value from a plastic container showing significant wear after only a few uses is improbable. Time commitment. The time commitment is substantial. It cannot be understated. An Amish family may dedicate 200 to 300 hours annually to food preservation. However, they perceive this time differently. It represents not merely food storage but integrated family engagement, educational opportunities, and quality assurance. Each hour invested in preserving food equates to an hour potentially saved from medical visits, observes an Amish mother. Space allocation and environmental footprint. Space requirements vary significantly. Traditional techniques often demand greater initial space but prove more efficient over extended periods. A properly arranged root cellar holding 1,000 pounds of produce occupies roughly the same volume as 4 large refrigerators, appliances that would entail substantial operational and maintenance expenses if the Amish utilized electricity. The ecological footprint merits attention. Traditional storage practices generate virtually no waste. All components are reusable, recyclable, or compostable. This avoids plastic containers contributing to landfills. It eliminates packaging refuse. It negates transportation emissions associated with shipping food nationwide. An Amish family's annual refuse typically occupies just 1 trash bin. Replicating this outcome with contemporary storage approaches presents a challenge. Quality and resilience. Quality variations are significant. Foods preserved at home maintain higher nutrient levels due to processing at optimal ripeness. Commercially canned products frequently utilize produce harvested prematurely and subjected to artificial ripening. The disparity in taste is sufficiently pronounced that an Amish adolescent, upon sampling store-bought canned peaches at an acquaintance's home, inquired whether they were genuine peaches or merely a peach-flavored substitute. There is also the resilience aspect. In instances of supply chain disruptions or depleted store inventories, families employing traditional storage techniques remain largely unaffected. Amid recent worldwide occurrences, numerous Amish communities found themselves assisting their non-Amish, English, neighbors by providing food provisions. As an Amish elder remarked with a grin, traditional practices prove dependable when modern systems falter. Understanding and autonomy. Understanding and autonomy regarding one's food source is perhaps the most significant benefit. The Amish possess precise knowledge regarding their food's composition, cultivation methods, and preservation techniques. There are no unidentified ingredients, synthetic preservatives, or uncertainties about the significance of expiration dates. Labels are unnecessary for us, an Amish woman jests, as we embody the label ourselves. Concluding assessment. Both approaches serve their purposes. Yet, as global society confronts escalating concerns regarding sustainability and food availability, the time-honored Amish practices increasingly appear visionary. Ultimately, these methods have demonstrated their efficacy over centuries of reliable application.